A Shabbat Shalom Akim, Shabbat Shalom, all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakak, Kwadash, that honors the apostles and the elders, great millstone of teaching us his truth. Salutations to the sincere Akim and Aqua through listen. May the blessing of election be upon your house. My name is Brother Kwai. I'm back in here with another quick and Lord's will, as always, an edifying lesson. And for today's lesson, I kind of just wanted to, kind of touch on a little bit of a conversation I was having with a brother, and then we were kind of briefly speaking on how Jake, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and you Israelites, essentially, what the enemy has done, first and foremost with Esau, Edom, has done, with our people is to kind of confine their minds into essentially a box. So Jake essentially doesn't see themselves as more than just, as what they see on TV. So, for example, some of the things that Jake might most likely would want to aspire to is to, just be someone who does entertainment, someone who just does sports, someone who just is essentially like a rapper or a dancer or that's this of that nature, right? And essentially, our people, they're essentially their minds are just so confined into a box where, they can't see themselves other than what is, pre-programmed to them on essentially TV, right? And Esau is very crafty in this, because he pushes forth an image of, making you seem very small, very, very inferior. Like, for example, when you look at a lot of the rappers that are coming out today between, let's just start from today, going back from the last 5 to 10 years, a lot of these entertainers, they all have the word little, behind their name. It's always little this, little that, little John, little Tay, essentially making themselves a lot more inferior. When we know, pursuant to the scriptures, we are the superior race, right? But you see how destroyed for lack of knowledge our people are. So what I wanted to do is to bring in a couple of scriptures to reinforce the idea that we are a superior people, and just bring in a little bit of history, that I came across in this book I have here, right? And Lord's will is always, this will be an edifying lesson. So let's go back to the beginning. So just bear with me on this. Okay. Okay, so this is Genesis chapter 25. I'll start at verse 20, and it says, "And Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel the Syrian of Padanaram, the sister to Laban the Syrian. And it says, And Isaac entreated the Lord Yahweh for his wife, because she was barren. And the Lord Yahweh entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived. And it says, verse 22, And the children struggled together within her, and said, If it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord Yahweh. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels, and one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger," right? So, this is going into the birth between those 2 twins, Jacob, and you had Esau. So essentially Esau, he came out first, red, all over like a hairy garment. So that was his name. And then you had Jacob, and then Jacob is essentially, and his name, pursuant to the scriptures, his name was changed to Israel, right? And through his, and through him, he begat, his 12 sons, right? So that is where you get the 12 tribes of Israel. And we know that we are the stronger people. We are the mighty people. And this is the thing. And this type of knowledge and information is what Esau is essentially afraid of. You know, Jake is, as a matter of fact, let me say it like this: Esau is afraid of the fact that, you know, Jake taps into A, his power, and B, you know, knowing his nationality. You know, these nations are afraid of that, especially Esau, because they know that we're the stronger people. Like, for example, there was a slave. I don't remember where he was located, but I remember his name was like along the lines of Patasika. Let me see if I could find it. Hold on. Just briefly. And they know this, right? This is not something that is unknown to them. You know, Esau is very, very well known of this, right? So there was a slave named Patasika. Story. Hold on. Just type it in here. I don't want to go too off topic, but you know, I kind of just want to bring in this point here. Um, okay, so it says Patasica, the real name Roque Jose Florencio, was a slave in Brazil during the 19th century. He is well known for having forced to father over 200 children with various enslaved women, right? So, you know, the slave breeding was a very common thing, you know, during the time we were in slavery. And the slave masters, they knew this, or they get essentially a big guy like him, and they use him to essentially father the children, because they know we're a strong, you know, people. You know, our genetics are not the same like Esau's genetics. You know, we don't age the same way as Esau does. You know, we hold on to our youth a lot longer than people like, you know, the Edomites, you know, these so-called white people, right? They know that, right? But, through different crafty words, you know, destroying images, and, you know, kind of whitewashing history, you know, Jake has a very inferior complex about themselves. So they don't see themselves as anything other than what is portrayed to them, especially in Hollywood, because we know Jake doesn't run Hollywood, but we know who does, right? We know the people. They're very cunning and crafty, where they turn things upside down, and they make it seem like, you know, we're the dumbed down, we're the thug, we're the gangster, we're the whore, we're the baby mama culture, you know. And Esau perpetuates these things. We're the nigga who doesn't know anything else, right? This is why the scriptures say that he that teacheth his son grieveth the enemy. And Esau is afraid of us being empowered by knowing our nationality and knowing who we are as a people, right? So let me go back. Let's go to Corinthians. Okay, this is Second Corinthians 10 verse 3, and it says, "For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through the Most High Yahweh to the pulling down of strongholds." So through the secrets that has been, you know, delivered unto the servants, the prophets, you know, going out on highways and byways, one of the things we do is to tear down those different strongholds about what Esau perpetuates in his media, in his music, in his television, you know, all these different forms of country, you know, pushing forth imagery, because the guy is a wizard, right? He's very, very crafty and cunning with his different devices, right? So through this knowledge, wisdom, understanding, we pull down these different strongholds, and we tell you Israelites, you know, you're not the dumbed down, wetback, savage, nigga, thug, like gangster, you know, that you're portrayed to be on the media, right? So we're coming in instead of a father, right? And the father is um, essentially one of those parents that encourages their children to remind them that you're not as as foolish and as dumbed down as you think you are, right? As you portrayed to be, I should say, right? Or you're 3/5 of a human. Your brains are not smaller, and so on and so forth. Like you're far from that, right? So go to when we got scattered into captivity, essentially, we were the people who were very, very sought after. Like, for example, when we were in Egypt, who was the most prized possession? Who was that man who was able to break down and give the Pharaoh a proper action plan on how to move forward? Who was it? It was Joseph, right? He is our stock. He is of our lineage. He is of our bloodline. That's our kin, right? We pursuant to what's it is in Ecclesiastes, because we're so nigh unto the Lord, the wisdom that he had, it made his face to shine, and people around him sought after him, especially the Pharaoh, right? Because he had the essentially the interpretation thereof to break things down and give the Pharaoh a proper action plan, right? Just another example. This is Daniel chapter 1, verse, I'll start at verse 1, but it points in, let me see if I can get it in the NLT. Just bear with me on this. Get this in the NLT here. Okay, this is Daniel 1. I'll start at verse 1, but I'll read down a little bit. And it says, during the 3rd year of King Jehoiakim's reign in Judah, King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon came to Jerusalem to besiege it. And the Lord gave him victory over King Jehoiakim of Judah and permitted him to take some of the sacred objects of the temple of the Most High. So Nebuchadnezzar took them back to the land of Babylonia and placed them in the treasure house of his God. And it says, verse 3, and the king ordered Ashpenaz, the chief of staff, to bring to the palace some of the young men of Judah's royal family and the other noble families who had been brought to Babylon as captives. And it says, select only strong, healthy, and good-looking young men. He said, make sure they are well versed in every branch of learning, are gifted in knowledge and good judgment, and suited to serve in the royal palace. Train these young men in the language and literature of Babylon. And the king assigned them a daily ration of food and wine in his own kitchens. They were trained for 3 years. Then they would enter the royal service, right? So this goes into Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, right? So and I bring this up because the same thing essentially applies today. The only difference really is the captivity, right? So this was during the captivity of the Neo-Babylonian Empire, where it was Daniel, then you had the 3 holy children. And then in this time, it's the exact same thing. You have the sons of God scattered into this particular captivity, and then they're shining and excelling in those different fields and areas where they are scattered, right? It's not limited to just, what's it called? Entertainment. Yes, you have Jake that excels in entertainment and in sports, but you have Jakes that are in the military. You have Jakes that are, into, for example, agriculture. You have Jakes that excel in chess. I was reading recently, for example, that this guy named Andrew Tate, his father was a grand chess master, and like a very well-known chess master, right? So you have Jakes that are very, into different things other than what is being told to them and what is being constructed to them, and in this society, right? For example, There was a show back in the day called Fresh Prince, and on the show you had, typical Will Smith and his character, good at sports and stuff like that. But then you had somebody like Carlton, was a little bit, they might call him like more of a square, a little bit nerdy but different, who had other interests. You had political interests, and you had Jakes that are into politics, right? And that's really the point here. Is not for, a king is a king. It's a particular mindset that comes with a king. It's not just about, limiting to yourself and seeing that you're just a rapper. You're not just a rapper or a savage or a whore, right? We're Israelites. We're sons of God, right? you know. Okay, I kind of wanted to read. I wanted to get this quick account here in regards to our people scattering into Western Africa, right? Just bear with me on this. And this is just really just an empowering lesson per se. It's to show that we have a rich history, and we're a very, very talented people, right? Okay, so this is page 90 in Babylon and Timbuktu, and it says, and the black Jews had an advantage over the African tribes. They carried their culture, history, laws, and different records with them, which shows that where there's a difference between the so-called African tribes and Jake, right? It says they carry. Sorry, I read that. They assured them a constant precedent for the development of a higher social organization because of the stability of the black. It says Jewish, but we're Israelites, right? Black. I'll just say Israelite culture. It says the Jews were not absorbed into the autonomous population. In fact, the Jews absorbed some of the native tribes. The Jews made use of every skill, of every opportunity. It says they were industrious and skillful people. It says in the Jewish Ghanaian states were found kings, princes, governors, generals, secretaries, treasurers, revenue agents, judges, architects, engineers, doctors, historians, language interpreters, mathematicians, jewelers, sculptors, masons, carpenters, painters of art. It says goldsmiths, leather workers, potters, armorers, saddlers, blacksmiths, agriculturalists, etc., and etc., right? So they were very, very talented people. Just like we are a very talented and we're a great nation, right? The portion of Jacob is not like them, right? We are the sand of the sea, we are the stars of the heaven. We know how to multiply, we can sing, we can dance, but we can do a lot more than that, right? Because we're the Lord's chosen people, right? So I just wanted to read that, right here, because Jake is in gross darkness, man. As a matter of fact, let me get that. They only conform to the images they see on TV, right? But Esau has a hand in that too, right? So this is Isaiah 60 verse I'll start at verse 1. It says, arise, Jerusalem, in the NLT, let your light shine for all to see, for the glory of the Lord rises and to shine on you. Darkness as black as night covers all the nations of the earth. But the glory of the Lord rises and appears over you, right? So, as a matter of fact, let me go to the NLT because it says it a little bit differently. Sorry, the KJV. And it says in the KJV, for behold, darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people. but the Lord Yahweh shall rise upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee. Right? So this world is covered in gross darkness, and gross darkness even trickles down onto you, you Israelites, because you don't have a strong connection to your own history, and you think your history starts, as far back as slavery, and prior to that they don't know anything, and they don't even know anything of what happened during the time prior to slavery, being scattered in Africa or being across here in the Americas, what you did, what your forefathers did. That's why the scriptures say the things that are written aforetime are written for our learning, right? So we know these different things, and and it makes us feel more empowered because we have a rich, a very, very rich heritage, right? The way we did things when we were as the Moors, the different contributions the Moors, added onto what is known as Europe today, right? Actually, let me get that. Hold on 1 second. There was a king I was reading about. Let's bear with me on this. Okay, this is 2 Chronicles 26. This is going into King Uzziah, and it says, moreover, I'll start at verse 9, and it says, moreover, King Uzziah built towers in Jerusalem at the corner gate and in the valley gate, and at the turning of the wall, and fortified them. He also he built towers in the desert, digged many wells, for he had much cattle, both in the low country, in the plains, husbandmen also, and vine dressers, and mountains in the Carmel, for he loved husbandry. So when you go into husbandry, let's get this word in the etymology. Right, it says management of a household. It says farm management. It says peasant farmer. Let me just see if there's a little bit more I can get. Husband. So it says the cultivation or the production of plants or animals, agriculture. Right, the scientific control and management of a branch of farming, especially of domestic animals. So looking after the welfare of the animals, of it says so predominantly dealing with the animals, right? So and all that is wisdom, all that is very, very important. That's another ecosystem in itself, right? Because the animals, they need specific nutrients from the soil. That's what the Lord gave us the instructions of a land Sabbath, to be able to give the land a rest and to be able to get its nutrients, and the animals get their nutrients and we get our nutrients, right? The scriptures say that the multitude of the wise in the welfare of the world, right? And we are a wise people, because this is why, and this is what makes us wise, because we have these laws, statutes, and commandments, and that is what is crucially needed on this earth today, right? So yeah, I kind of just wanted to touch on that a little bit. I didn't want to make the lesson too long, but just something empowering, because in this world, Jake, Jake thinks very, very lowly of themselves, right? And we're not about being and thinking lowly of yourselves, right? The scriptures say that we have an unction of the Holy One to know all things, right? So to because this what this truth does, it broadens your understanding and kind of takes your mind out of the box, right? A king's mind should be very, very broad, right? Scriptures also say that to not be ignorant in anything great or small, right? But this is the mentality that Jay kind of perpetuates today, is that mindset of oh, I don't know that, being ignorant essentially, right? So, anyways, I'll leave it there. But Lord's will, as always, this lesson was edifying. I didn't want to make the lesson too long, but I'm just like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Hakadosh, double honors to the apostles and the elders, great millstone of teaching us his truth. The next time I say Shalom.